We're often told you must have this thing for recording at home. You medically need a load box, or you simply cannot function without a vintage ribbon microphone. I personally think that a guitar, a computer and an interface are the only real essentials, not counting cables, picks and all that. So instead of telling you about what expensive preamp you simply must have to record pro guitars at home, I want to take a look at some of the unsung heroes, the tools you may not think you need or may take for granted, and show you why they may be the best purchases you make this year. Let's check it out. Take a listen to these two acoustic guitar parts and check out the difference. So what is the difference there? Probably about a £50 investment in a really basic stereo microphone. What I'm using here is actually designed to go on a camera, I think. But really any kind of cheap stereo microphone is going to do the job, because we're not after absolute audio fidelity. We're looking for some width. Use a microphone in the way you usually would on an acoustic guitar. I like to try pointing a small diaphragm condenser around the 12th fret, 6 to 12 inches away. Then slightly further back, maybe 2 feet away, point your stereo microphone at that same spot. Incidentally, you'll notice on these shots there's a small red dot on the 12th fret. This is coming from the microphone. I'm using an Aston Starlight mic, which has this little laser built in the top, and it really helps to make sure you're not moving the guitar too much in between takes. Just FYI. A stereo microphone isn't really recording directly what's in front of it. It's using what's in front of it as a kind of mirror point to record everything to the left of that point in the left channel and everything to the right in the right channel. So you end up with a stereo file. As you heard, this is going to add so much to your recordings. And this little microphone here is the Audio-Technica Pro 24. It's actually my secret weapon for acoustic guitar tracks. It's inexpensive. You can pick up similar microphones secondhand for under £50 easily. And ultimately, it doesn't matter how expensive they are, because they're just adding a layer. It's adding an extra width to your track. It's a great way to add some extra dimension to your recordings without breaking the bank. I'm going to bet you probably already own a Capo, and I'm not here to sell you on which brand you should or shouldn't use, more about how you can use them. If you're using it to change the key of a track, then you're probably pretty well versed with its uses, but when I'm recording, I love using a Capo to add extra layers on a song and give it some extra depth. Picture this. We've got a chord progression, say A, E, D. We're not going crazy here. We've tracked it, and it sounds like this. Okay, cool. Now let's put a capo on the 5th fret and take a standard E shape and play it open. Remember, the capo is on 5, so it turns into an A major chord. That in itself is cool because you've got the extra E and A on the higher strings, adding a bit of texture. But let's go a step further. Keep that E shape and move it up to where your E major chord would be on the 12th fret. Don't play the low E string, but keep the B and E strings open. Now you've got a different voicing of an E major shape to go over the standard E major chord. And again, you've got that high E and A. Now the E is in the major triad, so that's cool. But the A is adding some interest. It's technically turning it into an E add 11 chord, which is nice. And we may not have thought of that had it not been for the simple capo. Then for the D chord, just bring your fingers down 2 frets as if you were playing a D major chord on the 10th fret. Again, don't play that low E string and leave the B and E strings open. Remember, the B and E strings, you've got those high E and A notes, turning this simple D major chord into a kind of D add 9 chord. We're using the capo as a compositional tool. Maybe we wouldn't have thought of using those chords if they weren't provided for us by the capo. Let's hear those two takes together. Okay, so what about combining those first 2 points? I'm going to record the basic chords using a regular microphone at the 12th fret. Then the additional capoed chords are going to be recorded using the stereo mic. Not only have I got the extra chords in there, I've got the extra width, which is going to add so much life to this guitar track. Capo as a compositional tool, and it was right there in your case all along. On the face of it, a cable tester kind of sounds like the least sexy thing you can possibly spend your money on, right? But this thing is going to get you out of so many tricky spots. Got a massive pedal board and trying to work out where the weak link in the chain is? Well, use the jack to jack adapter to plug into each pedal in the chain and make sure sound is passing through. It's rechargeable by USB, so great for taking out the gigs and not having to worry about a load of AA batteries on board. You can send a signal down an XLR line if it's just a cable or a stage box type situation, or go the other way. Plug it into the male end of an XLR and make sure the signal is coming down using either the speaker, headphone output, jack, or XLR. You can check if phantom power is present or not. Helpful to check if your condenser mics have phantom power sent to them, and also to make sure your ribbon mics do not. As well as checking mic cables and pedals, you can also check DI boxes and make sure they're passing what you're giving them. Speaking of DI boxes, a DI is something that many bass players may already own, and maybe as a guitarist you own one for acoustic guitar duties, but did you know that it's going to make your life so much easier for home recording, and you're not even going to have to listen to it? I'm not talking about using a DI to send a clean signal to an amp sim. The DI signal here is actually just a visual prompt for what you're playing. So before you plug your guitar into an amp, first plug it into a DI, which is going to essentially split the signal, giving you one design for an amp and one path designed for a microphone input. You could also use an A/B splitter pedal for this if you wanted. Then just plug the clean output into an input on your interface. Even if it's not a true instrument input designed to take instrument level, it doesn't really matter because we're not actually aiming to listen to the signal at all. Take a look at this. It's a fairly standard waveform for a distorted guitar, right? But where does one chord start and another end? If you're editing this or trying to chop sections out for looping, it's an absolute nightmare because you can't see what's going on. It may sound great, but that doesn't really help you. Enter the DI signal. You can now see exactly where your chords start and end. And if you want to edit something, put the amp and DIs on a group and edit using the DI as a reference. You'll be able to get your edits absolutely spot on because you can actually see what's going on. No more guesswork. Is there anything that you found indispensable in your home studio? Something you can't live without day to day? Please let me know about it in the comments, and I'll see you again soon. Take care.